Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I am good. Thank you so much for being here, Kelly. Thank you, everybody, for being here in the chat and being patient while we work some stuff out. Kelly and I are both last minute girls. Let me tell you that we're last
We
minute women.
fly by the seat of our pants.
We do, we do, and we needed to get some stuff together before we did. But we're glad everybody is here, and we hope to have an open and honest discussion in regards to these cases. Because again, we're going to dive into how organizations can go wrong and how people can do the wrong thing and
Mhm.
try to look at the facts and the evidence in what we're doing here. But we need to talk
Yeah.
about a very famous pop star, a Backstreet Boy,
Yes,
who's a
Mr.
full
Teen
grown man
Idol,
now.
right? He's
Right,
he's
Mr. Teen
no
Idol.
longer a teen idol. I think he's
I look
over
at him.
40. I
Yeah,
don't
full grown man. I looked that way. Is that, oh my God, is that Nick Carter? Nick Carter? I didn't even recognize him. Like, I was like, wow. Yeah, I mean, it's still him, obviously, but we're talking about situations that happened again 23 years ago to 21 years ago, like from 2001 to 2003, I believe. Allegations, Kelly, is that correct?
yes, in that ballpark arena, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
When
Mhm.
the 90s was turning into the Y2K era,
Mhm. So he
you
was
know.
younger. He was younger. This
Yeah.
is at the height of their career, of course. Like this is like they were very popular. Everybody knows, the Backstreet Boys, and we're going to be talking about allegations made against Nick Carter, and more importantly, what he's doing to push back, which is right
Yeah.
now, which he just did in May, just currently just filed a humdinger of a motion for summary judgment.
Mhm.
Like, I want to give his lawyers like a lot of credit. It was very concise reading, all the I's dotted, all the T's crossed, and point by point addressed allegations. He's pushing back, not to jump ahead, but he's pushing back on all three. There are three accusers,
Mhm.
three allegations, three different sets of allegation stories against him. But they're all related. They're all um
Mhm.
kind of, it looks to me like working together a little bit, but we can get into more of that. But let's
Yeah.
start with who is accusing him and what they're accusing of him. Would you like to break that down for them for me?
Okay. Well, I mean, to start, I think most people, once they kind of grew out of their high school, adolescent years, I was not thinking about the Backstreet Boys when the Me Too movement took
Mm-mm.
action in 2017. They were not on my radar. But I have a very, very good friend who they're very much on her radar still. And when the lead, well, I don't know, I think maybe she was more of a backup singer for a pop group called Dream. And they had that really cute song that
Mm-hmm.
people that watched TRL back in the day would remember, like He Loves Me, He Loves You Not,
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. She, in November of 2017, published a blog post where she detailed a story that years prior, in 2003, when the two of them were filming I think it was an ABC
Oh, it was called the
Family.
Hollow. Was it called the
Yeah.
Hollow?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think it's back when it was ABC Family and now it's
Mhm.
Freeform now.
And we can say
Um,
her name because she put it out
yes.
publicly in
Melissa
her filing.
Schuman. Yes.
Melissa Schuman, and she was a member of Dream and active in
Yeah.
they toured together from what I saw.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they toured. I'm not solid on that. I feel like,
Mm, I saw some. Well, the reason I'm saying tour, I think it was, let's say, performed, like their groups,
mm-hmm.
Dream and the Backstreet Boys, and all of those young, popular kind of bands. There was like multiple layers. Backstreet Boys may be the main ticket, but there was always like, secondaries, thirds, fourths. They got to fill the roster,
Yeah.
and all of these things. And it seemed like they were all friendly because there's lots of, and I'm just going by the socials on both sides way back then, before
Mm-hmm.
the block. Let's say we're talking before the 2017 block, because the incident she's saying is from early 2000, like when she was only
Yeah.
18 years old. In she the blog that she did, like many young women, did blogs about their stories and experiences after the movement hit its height. The Harvey Weinstein, let's call it the Harvey Weinstein effect. Okay. Oh,
Yes.
and I'm not.
Yes.
Everyone has a right to tell their story. Please, I'm not
Mhm.
like I'm not coming out against victims.
Yeah. Well,
However,
and
however, I will say,
yeah. Well, what
um,
I was going to say about my friend is though, because they were not on my radar, and I am a child abuse survivor, but also an SA survivor. And so
mhm,
I was one of those, just immediately when someone tells their story, I leapt to want to believe them.
you listen,
And
right? And that's
so,
important. You
yeah,
listen, and you,
yeah.
yeah.
And so my friend over time, Jen, I call her Midtown Jen because she lives in Midtown, but she was really who was educating me kind of on, well, look at it from both sides, that kind of thing. And then,
Mhm,
life rolled on. So many other things were happening in this time period. So it wasn't really on my radar still again until, of course, that I've been very like into researching the Manson stuff. And
mhm,
in December of 2022, I had COVID at the time. I had a fever, and there was a press conference of another woman by the name of Shannon Ruth who
right.
was accusing him. And it was really the strangest press conference I've ever witnessed. And I thought it was my COVID. I thought, this can't be real. This can't be real. But I thought in my head, like, oh my gosh, I hope he doesn't end up like Marilyn Manson, where he's facing
Mhm,
multiple lawsuits at the same time, where it's all kind of like a big media pile-on. And Nick Carter, not even within a day, like Marilyn Manson was, I think, dropped by his label and stuff within the day, only within a matter of a couple hours. The Backstreet Boys were cut from a performance that they had. They were going to have an
yeah.
ABC special
It was
for the
Christmas, right?
holidays.
The
Yeah, it was
Christmas
like,
special was canceled. Their tour was
hmm
canceled. Their upcoming,
yeah,
shows,
they
everything was
had,
wiped. Yeah.
yeah, they suffered some really immediate monetary damages.
Mhm,
And, even though I wasn't totally up to speed on what was happening in Nick Carter's life or the Backstreet Boys world or whatever, I, of course, was aware that Aaron Carter had passed just a couple weeks prior. So it seemed like just a really particularly bad time for this, blonde. Isn't he kind of like he's the blonde, blue-eyed Backstreet
He's the
Boy?
fresh-faced, all-American boy look, with the boy bands in, like, I'm probably going to take a hit for this, but
Hmm.
the boy bands, they tip 5 or 6 of them together, and there's like a type for everybody. Like, there's the bad
Oh
boy, there's
yeah, yeah,
there's the dark one, the light one,
yeah.
you know what I
He'd
mean?
be like
Hair
the
color. He was the blonde, blue-eyed, fresh-faced, like all-American, like country boy, look. Yeah, it's adorable. But still. But Kelly, that had to be hard for you to hear from your friend and then listen and then to see that. And then you already knew what could happen to a career. We watched it, in February of 2021. We watched what happened. Um, that press conference, and I've gone back and looked at it because it's still available. You guys can search it. They're coming out with civil suit, right? No criminal charges for something from years ago. And they walked that young woman out there and put her out there, and there's a lot to see. I recommend everybody watch it because I don't want to speak too much about what I think about what I saw right now because I'm still a little reeling from it, like you might have been from when you thought you had a fever. Like, it's got to be the COVID, it's a fever. But theatrical is the word I would use. Would you agree? Like, it was unbelievable. And I lost. I can't hear a thing. I'm sorry, Kelly. Are you there? Oh, Kelly? Kelly? I don't know why I can't hear it. Oh, I lost Kelly. I'm sorry. Okay, can you guys hear me? Because I thought my mic went out. Can you tell me if Kelly was speaking at all before she got dropped? If anybody in the chat was paying attention, and whether you can blame Mike again? Okay, Liam. Hopefully she comes back. Um, did yeah, tick that off on the bingo. But could somebody please answer me? Could you hear me when Kelly was up here? And was Kelly talking at all? Like, I don't want to think I was just over talking her, but I couldn't hear her say anything. You could not hear Kelly. Okay, she must have lost her mic. Oh, here she is.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, Kelly. I lost you. I didn't want to think I was talking over you, but like it was quiet, so
Yeah.
I kept talking. And I kept going, Kelly. But
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
awkward moment over. But would you say? I think the last thing I said was, would you say that that press conference seemed a little theatrical to you?
Oh, very, very much.
Mhm.
It was I've never seen an attorney at that point. I have since stand up at a podium and just boldly say, not these are allegations, but X person murdered this person, or X person beat this person, or
It was a
X
direct.
person raped this person.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
very theatrical like that. And they had this other woman who was there representing a nonprofit organization. And then, of course, they had Shay speak, and it was Shannon goes by Shay. And it was, I something felt immediately off to me.
It did, because it had been so many years later, and
Hmm.
I don't want to take anything away from anybody going through a traumatic experience. Okay, obviously we all deal with it differently, and coming forward to it, it just something about it, especially. And I want everybody to please understand, this is only our view of it right now. We're going to give you some
Hmm.
facts and some places to look at, but I have looked at it all, and like I want you guys to go and look at that interview, because I literally, through the tears and all, saw her smirk at the camera and
Yeah.
smile at the camera, and look to
Yeah.
people,
Hmm.
look to the reporters and smile at them and to the attention. And I was like, I felt so, I felt that this woman
And something
was
that
being
really,
used. I think she was being
yeah,
used. I think she's being manipulated. Yeah.
something that really it touched on, because she articulated at the press conference that she has two disabilities. And so I kind of felt like she was being personally exploited herself.
Yes.
But that was just only kind of speculation. I always still want to come from a place of believing people, but I also
Mhm.
have reached a point where it's like, you know what? There's no harm in saying, hey, let's wait for the facts, due process, innocent till proven guilty, because, that is the foundation of what our legal system is supposed to practice. But on these abuse cases, the Me Too movement has kind of flipped that upside down.
Mhm.
And it's like guilty until proven innocent, and it's really freaking hard to prove your innocence.
Right.
But yeah, it
Well,
was.
it's unfair. It's kind of skewed in one way, like I know
Hmm.
that people want to tell their story. They don't want to be silenced. They believe in the free speech. But when you skew it to the point where somebody loses everything immediately and then has to fight to get it back
Hmm.
on an accusation, like there's something wrong with the system. I want people's stories to be told and everything, but the way here in America that this system works against people doesn't feel like justice to me, because even the wronged party, and at this point, after looking at, of course we have to wait for a trial if there is a trial. We should mention
Yeah.
everything that's been filed has been civil. There are no criminal
Yeah.
charges against Nick Carter anywhere in regard. And matter of fact, the only one who has a criminal record is one of the accusers, and boy, does she have a criminal record.
Yeah. I mean,
I, I
all
couldn't
all
even
the
get through it all. I couldn't
all
get
the
through it all.
all the allegations were investigated by law enforcement, and they weren't even investigated just very dismissively. Like, they did interviews.
Yes.
They really, really tried to do their due diligence
They
to
did,
hear
and
out
I will
these
say
claims.
they contacted managers, they contacted friends, they contacted family, and unfortunately, that is actually going to be damaging for the civil cases, because what is on record for the investigation
It's the police, police
is
reports.
damaging to the accusers, because it doesn't substantiate anything they said. The stories changed after, before. In the case of Melissa Schuman, her own manager at the time says that her story about telling me right away and wanting to press charge, nope, I knew nothing about this. What I would
Mm-hmm.
remember if somebody told me they'd been assaulted. I have,
Yeah.
her own manager. Like, I'm just like, there's just too much there, and I want everybody to go look. I've linked a video down below, and it's called Nick Carter Allegations. Is the name of the channel. They put out a Google Drive with all of the information they gathered. They went through all the socials before the accusations happened and
Mm-hmm.
showed all the support. And I want to focus on Melissa Schuman here just for a moment, Kelly. I don't want to take anything away from you, but to me, this looks like where it started, and about something that she decided to do. And when in Nick Carter's filings, he is actually accusing and filing against Melissa Schuman and her father and the accusers, that this is organized and that they did not get the payout that they wanted, and this is what they're doing. And I think this is why he's so prepared to fight back, because it's not a good look. We should mention that Shay herself has issues. She's autistic. She says she has is it MS, or is it
She
it is
look.
a health organization.
Yeah.
She's
I
a very
respect. Yeah.
sympathetic acute. She's a very sympathetic victim. Who would
Mm-hmm.
push back on that and look that horrible if it was if it was false? Unless
Well,
it was false. Like, he's
It
taking a
was.
big a big optical hit. You know what I'm saying? To push back that hard.
Mm-hmm.
He is absolutely convinced that this is targeted. You can see it in the writing. This is targeted against him. It's absolutely not true. He's sorry that consensual things, which he does admit happened with Melissa Schuman at the time when they were teenagers together. But the other ones, he says absolutely not. Never, ever, ever. Nope. 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 Never. Doesn't even know who Shannon Ruth
Yeah.
is. She
Shannon
never
Ruth.
saw her.
Yeah. Shannon Ruth is who the next big thing really on the horizon in her cases. So you know how it is when you file a lawsuit, you have the opportunity to respond to it. And when he responded, he filed a counterclaim because against Melissa Schuman's father, which is an interesting
Mm-hmm.
detail, and Shay Ruth. And Shannon has sought for deposition. Her friend also sat for a deposition where, under oath, she was saying basically that Shay offered her up a share of a lawsuit settlement if she would back up
Mm-hmm.
her claim. Shannon Ruth, under oath, is even like, I don't even know if this even happened. It's like, then why are we even here? But this was filed December of 2022, and the hearing on this is in August of 2024. So we don't know if the court will grant it or not, but that would be, 1.75 years, give or take 2/3 of a
Mm-hmm.
year, for somebody who has resources, who has so-called celebrity, even though I think we can all agree he's not like a big mogul, to be able to clear his innocence over an accusation from somebody he's never even met.
Exactly. After losing everything that they lost back
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
2017 with the Backstreet Boys, after having to company. And I recommend that everybody read these filings, because here's who he does have in the filings. Everyone that Shannon Ruth mentions that could support her collaborations is actually in there saying nope, nope.
Yeah.
Her friends that she mentions by name, this one will collaborate it, this one will collaborate it. Nope, nobody's collaborating it. As a matter of fact, they're throwing her under the bus, saying she's got issues. She this is unfortunate, but we cannot condone this. Like, we
Yeah.
cannot condone this behavior. Yeah.
And they also, the parties like the Schumans particularly, have tried to distance themselves. Like, well, her claim has nothing to do with us. We don't even know her. Shannon Ruth, under oath, testified. And one of these things, I'm going to give you like a it factor trigger warning, because I think it's so gross. But I'll say Shannon testified that Melissa Schuman funded for her hair, makeup, and her clothing for this press conference.
And I
So
believe it.
there's some collusion, I would
Well,
say. And then
can I just
her
say what proves that? The police investigation in Shannon Ruth's report, when she did report it, she insisted on getting Melissa on the phone
and FaceTime.
twice and FaceTime to help her file her report. So for them to distance themselves and says we have nothing to do with this woman when they actually helped her come forward, and there's actual physical evidence that shows that. Like you can't, that's what I mean. That's why I'm more inclined to believe some of the things that they say about being in contact with him and her helping, because there's actual evidence to prove that Melissa Schuman was involved with Shannon, with Shay's accusation from the start. Like for how it came out, what it did, like I think from the start.
Yeah, and they've been publicly communicating with each other via Twitter out in the open for years. And that's the type of stuff that the ladies that put together that great Nick Carter allegations video, which I highly suggest to everybody look into, because it's
linked below. Yep.
It's a complicated situation. And I think they did a really nice job of laying out a complicated situation in a way somebody new to it all would understand. Because even I've been reading these cases since December 22. That video just came out, I think, a couple months ago. And even I was like, I'm learning things.
And it goes all the way back to before the blog. It goes to all of the social interactions between Melissa Schuman, the Backstreet Boys, and Nick Carter. They were all friendly. And it shows her promoting them. It shows her doing it. It shows that there's no hint of anything. As a matter of fact, there's more of a I want to be around you, I want to be associated with you, than there is a don't bother me, I can't do it kind of thing. And they also link a Google Drive, which I linked below too, on their channel, that has all of these evidence of the social interactions, the articles, the conversations, the police reports, the interviews, like all of it.
Everything they say, they back up and provide.
They back it up. It can all be sourced and double checked, because when it came to, of course, the investigative part where they're talking to managers and stuff, of course I had to go and make sure that those reports actually exist, because you only see like a portion of it, right? So you want to just make sure that you're giving out the right sources. So I did double check that, like they've got their stuff. And it's all in one place, which is why I want to put them down there. I hope they don't mind. I didn't get the chance to get in touch with them.
Oh my gosh, no,
I don't think they will.
They'll appreciate it now.
Yeah. Because we just want both sides out there. Like I don't want to. If anything did happen to these women, I hope that they find a way to deal with it. I just don't think the way that it's being dealt with right now is. I don't think it's fair. I'll just say it straight out. It's not fair. It's not fair the way our system makes them fight against these accusations after the fact, like this, after their careers have been ruined. And why is it always somebody with money and famous? Like, I mean,
and it's when it comes to somebody like Nick Carter, it's not just affecting just him as an individual. It's affecting his children. It's affecting his entire family. It's affecting all of his bandmates, and it's affecting like the Backstreet Boys. I've learned has been a thriving, continuing business all those years when they were off my radar. And I've learned that they have such a wonderful team and families that have worked for them for years and years and years, that, this is all affecting all of their livelihoods as well.
Right. It affects all his relationships, because like they're attacking him, and it affects everyone around him. Everyone.
Yeah. And, I think obviously, that, which by the way, I will tell people, Claire has been on my Justice for Marilyn Manson podcast, and she's going to be on a future episode that I need to buckle down and finish editing. We got a little chatty.
Oh, I think when you say that, they're like, "What, Claire? Yeah, we know she's too much.
Yeah.
How the heck you invited her back? What was it? The last one like 3 hours, and you actually invited her back?" They were like, "Okay, these two can
Well,
get along. These
we
two,
had a
yeah.
good conversation about Sarah Boone, which I don't want to talk about tonight. But I'm
No,
like,
we can put
yeah,
that like yeah. You
yeah,
can come back. You can come back anytime you want and talk about Sarah Booth. They love talking about Sarah Booth.
yeah, we love her.
I'm gonna actually cover that trial live if they show it because this is gonna be something.
I'll be there.
Um.
But yeah, but what I was going to say about Manson is like, Manson has a shocking persona. So yes, he was
Mhm,
horribly canceled, and I hate that he lost his record deal with no due
mhm,
process and everything. Absolutely. But in terms of like sponsorship deals and that kind of thing, I don't think, many people were saying, hey, we want to have Marilyn Manson in a sponsorship ad,
mhm.
that kind of thing. But that's the type of family type
Well, you
dynamic
know
and
what? They
stuff that
said
a
that
brand like
before
the,
the accusations because that's how strong his stage persona is versus like
yeah,
Brian Warner is Marilyn Manson, and Marilyn Manson is the character. That's the performer. That's the act,
yeah,
so to speak.
yeah, but
Brian
yeah,
Warner's the one who's like they're trying to ruin here. It's just
I know
mm,
they're all the boogeyman. But like I said, I just feel like it's really affecting, taking a huge toll on Nick, his entire family, the other bandmates. And
yes,
it's
yeah.
it's unfortunate because as we've seen with these type of things, it takes a very, very long time, and the media is not diligent about checking their facts. And in
Mhm,
fact, quite the opposite. Oftentimes they will kind of go out of their way to cover up facts,
mhm,
particularly in the event of this. Like, for people who have HBO Max, Nick Carter was just the target of a really horribly done 4-part series that the producers of this thing have been filming for over a year. They didn't even want to attend a hearing until spring
mhm,
of this year. That's how much they're not focused on what's actually happening in reality
mhm.
and evidence in court. They're
Yeah.
just playing the sensationalist propaganda spin.
Mhm,
And, Melissa Schuman even withheld information from the producers on that,
mhm.
is in Nick's favor and that kind of thing. It's sad because
No, they
I
didn't
as
go back and
somebody,
check. None of that is in there.
no,
At the end, I mean, once or twice they'll make a statement like it's allegations, or that nothing's been played out yet. But there was more the sensationalism because of his brother Aaron, because of the
mhm.
timing. They're just out to make money. They don't really care who they're destroying at the time. And I'm sure, like, I know that there was a release that Nick Carter didn't want to produce. Like they did approach him to actually be a part of it. Why would he want to? Like
Well,
it's
but
a it's a hit
there's
piece.
active litigation, and I think you and I would agree that
It's not smart.
yeah,
Yeah.
no intelligent person or even counsel would
Eh,
advise
which
somebody
which
to do that.
confuses me. If it's not a PR thing, why are the actual accusers doing this kind of stuff when it's only damaging because everything that they say and do can be used against them in here, and it
Yeah,
has been. Every statement they've made since the accusations has been used against them, and it's all falling apart because they keep changing their stories. They keep changing different things.
yeah,
Who saw what? Who's involved? Like we're not talking about mild things here like we heard in the Masterson trial where they were like, well, how many times did you scream? You said 3 times this time and 2 times that time. We're not talking about that kind of stuff. We're talking about place, date, time, people that were there or not there, like no collaborating, like saying there's a collaborating witness and that witness is like, no, you
yeah,
know, saying that this could have happened, especially when you get to
yeah,
Shay's claims. Everything she said was actually, and I love this term, one of my favorite terms in going in motions to dismiss or motions for summary judgment in civil cases is factually impossible. And
yeah.
it's
It's
in there.
factually impossible.
And I have to say, Nick's motion for summary judgment, especially with Shannon Ray, not Shannon Ray. I'm sorry, I'm confusing her with the other one. Shay Ruth, is it's factually impossible for her statements to be true. everybody that worked on that tour came out and talked about the security, talked about how things were. She's actually saying that she was in a line for autographs. She was picked out of that line, got her arm hurt. He forced her onto
Yeah.
the bus to do stuff. The buses aren't even anywhere near where fans can be, and
Yeah.
they were monitored. There was no autograph line. The women that were with her at the time from the same Aaron Carter group, because remember, these are all fans of like younger Aaron too,
Yeah.
and then older brother Nick, are saying no, that couldn't have happened. Like, we were at the hotel, they all came in single, nobody was with them. Like, the security guards won't let you anywhere near them. There's like standard procedure for them all getting on the bus at the same time. Every member of the band says everybody stayed together. Like, there's more affidavits tearing apart this than I've ever seen in a filing. I mean,
It's very impressive what he's filed. And you know how it is when you're a celebrity to beat an anti-slap motion. And he has beat two. And he has a
right.
third one coming up.
That is almost impossible to do when you're a
Mm-hmm.
public figure, because they're like,
Mm-hmm.
and they say it on YouTube, right? Like, you and I are on YouTube now, and we're going to have to put up with everything everybody says about us, right? We know that. There's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing we can do. You just choose
No.
whether to respond or not. But for somebody that famous, it's like a million times worse. They've got to jump through hurdles to to uh
Mm-hmm.
to prove anything, because free speech. I'm allowed to say whatever. You put yourself out there, you made yourself a target for it. Like, I get to talk about you.
Yeah. And the one of the judge, she actually is no longer the judge because I think she retired from the county and went into a different field. But when it was a female judge, and I thought what her statement was about that she just doesn't think it doesn't sit right with her that just because somebody is a so-called celebrity or an entertainer that they shouldn't have the right to defend themselves. And that is
Exactly.
exactly what these women were arguing. He doesn't have a right to defend himself.
Exactly. They were trying to say, no, you see, we get to tell our story, but you don't get to say anything back. Like, whatever we say goes, and you don't get to defend yourself, even if it's not true. It's like, it means, like, that's what's now
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to go to the Me Too thing, because that is what's wrong with the Me Too movement. It's
Mm-hmm.
believe us no matter what. And I can't go with that. That isn't fair. That just makes the situation worse. That takes credibility away. That takes real victim stories away. The more that these famous people get together to bash on somebody for their own agendas, and it's true. I went through the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial. That was agenda, agenda, agenda. And you just, there's no evidence, you know? There's like actually evidence to the contrary, and people want to ignore it because it is very hard. Even I find it very difficult to sit up here and have anybody think that I'm going against victims, because I'm not. Am I going against accusers that don't have anything to back it up? Yes. I don't think you can lie on people and get away with it. It's not right, you know?
It's not fair at all. And I think every single, like, looking into these kind of celebrity situations and seeing, because I had no idea. I think we talked about this back in the
Hmm.
day when a celebrity was filed a lawsuit. I was just like, oh my god, they did it. And now I'm like, now I realize, no, it's not that way at all. A lot of times these lawsuits will be served to the media and not even make it to the actual parties. These
Hmm.
lawyers will put whatever they want into these things because they know it can survive litigation privilege under review. So it's like, now I've learned to always kind of take a sit back, read the lawsuit, read the reply to the lawsuit, and even still keep an eye on things,
Hmm.
because it just isn't, oh, somebody was sued. Oh, well, then they did it. I've really, really changed my belief on that.
Hmm.
And I feel like the Johnny Depp trial has opened a lot of people's eyes to that kind of thing. And I think that's positive. And you and I know we've said this in our podcast episodes, that we're just big champions for people learning, who are everyday citizens, who could potentially sit on a jury, to know how the legal system around you works, to
Exactly.
know what these things mean.
Hmm.
And, it's actually really kind of encouraging and empowering to educate yourself than just taking the cherry pick slices that the media is spinning
Exactly.
to you.
Exactly. And I love that part. I love watching the trials and watching legislation actually get changed for something that happened, like in E. Jean Carroll's case, where the language of the actual rape law and charge had to be changed because the jury even said, we know that he did it, but look, this is what it says, and we can't say
Yeah.
it. And they were like, boom, legislation changed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see that. And it's only through the process that we learn these things. I mean, for those that follow my channel, especially those in the chat, who almost everybody there has attended a live or trial with me where we talk about it as we go. We're learning as we go all of the different stuff. We're not lawyers or anything like that. We're everyday people, but that's part of the justice system.
Yeah.
Everyday people like you and I sit the jury and we decide. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's where, you really have to look at everything. There's two sides to every story. And I don't, I'm sure just like you don't want to be known to just not believe victims. I mean, of
Oh,
course we believe.
absolutely not.
I, I mean, the
Absolutely not.
Masterson trial, I believed those
Oh,
women strongly,
1,000%.
a
We
thousand
support them
percent. Right.
criminally, civilly. We totally, totally support them.
Right.
And the
So,
Harvey Weinstein victims. It's
mm,
unfortunate what happened in New York. I am disappointed in that judge because I wish
mhm.
that they got a clean conviction of him, because I hate to think of the county and everyone having to put on a retrial.
Well, judges hate to get overturned. So when it came up,
Mm-hmm.
of course, they're going to have to say, okay, we'll do another
Yeah.
trial because
Yeah.
judges are known. Like we look to a judge, right, to be the reason, to be the reasonable voice, to balance it all out for us, and to have all of that legal knowledge from both sides that we don't actually get to have. So I actually admire a judge that will say, okay, let's do it again because they don't want to get overturned. When they get overturned, that means they
Well,
specifically didn't
but
look at
the
something.
judge didn't say that. The appellate court
No, the
did.
court, the
Yeah.
appellate court
Yeah.
did, but it didn't have
Yeah.
to go to the. It would have went farther if the appellate
Yeah.
court didn't say retrial. I'm sure they would have moved it up further. There was a technicality there that needed to be taken care of.
Yeah. I've heard, and this is something you've probably heard too, like the lower courts, feeling can be applied to a verdict more, but theoretically an appellate court is supposed to be the voice of reason and really, really closely examine the law. And
Well, yes, because like if you think about it, those that get promoted up to appellate court have all been judges and do get better
mm-hmm.
understanding and experience and go there, and they are like, this is where it could have gone wrong. Maybe you didn't see this, and basically the whole thing is famished around accurate interpretation of the law, and that justice is actually served for both sides. So that it's
Mm-hmm.
a fair an equitable trial in that the judgment that is laid down is the judgment that is appropriate at the time. Mistakes get made. I mean, I don't want to bring it up, but the YSI, the Young Thug trial, like that thing's a
Oh
mess.
yeah.
And that judge was just pissed off, and he has the authority, and he's like, "Be quiet, or I'll put you in contempt. Like you need to answer my question." He didn't want to, and now it's a whole big thing. And
Yeah.
to be honest, when I'm looking at it, they're all wrong. Like they're all wrong in that one. Like I don't know what's going on over there, but it's a hot mess. I wouldn't be able to figure out who's right or who's wrong in that. And the judges that have to look at that, and the other lawyers that have to get involved with that, like wow. Yeah. Not only
Mm-hmm.
that it's been like in jury selection for almost a year before it went to trial. I mean, they've been doing this trial for more than a year. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's
It's an
insanity.
ongoing one. And like
Yeah.
this Nick Carter situation, it will be easily fall 2025, probably even into
Mhm.
2026 before
Right.
this
Right.
will go to trial.
That's it. Because even if we get summary judgment, his motion for summary judgment against that he's got on there right now, even if that does get a few, it's got to go to the jury for the amount. Like they still have to do a jury thing, unless they saying that the judge can just decide. You know what I mean? Like but all parties have to agree, and I can't see the women agreeing on anything actually at this point, because even if the judge does say that there's a lot there, and I think that the motion does give the judge a lot to think about, a lot to look at and to think about. I think it's very well done.
Yeah.
Um, but we'll see, because they had the one judge that didn't want to move all the cases together. We got one still in Nevada and the other two in Los Angeles, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, one in Los Angeles.
Oh,
And
and two
so
in Nevada. Okay.
So,
Hmm.
so Melissa Schuman, when she had the so when she was named as the defendant in the counterclaim, she had the opportunity then to file a case within Las Vegas, which is where
Hmm.
all of this is housed.
Hmm.
And she instead opted to cross state lines to LA County and file under that AB 277 law.
Right.
Um,
Because
so yeah,
because when she finally did go to the police, they said the statute of limitations. She didn't go until 2013. Like it expired in 2013.
yeah,
She wrote her blog in 2017, which is like 16, 15, like a lot of years after the event. And
hmm
it was right at the timing of the Me Too, the height of Me Too, actually, like when everything was crazy with Harvey Weinstein and all of the lawyers, and there was like daily press releases and stuff like that, and
every
there was
day. It was
you
that
know
was a really wild time, wasn't
and it
it?
was empowering. Some of the people, like you and I talk about this all the time, especially involved with the Marilyn Manson case. That at the time, I was happy that they were doing those congressional hearings, and even that
I
Evan
was,
Rachel
yeah, I
Wood
felt
spoke,
like, yes,
because
yes,
I was
justice.
all for her getting things
hmm
changed.
hmm
We got interview processes changed. We got automatic help for women at the hospital to get the kit done, no charge, like everything, respect.
hmm
And you got extra time to file your charges. You got the statute of limitations if you were having emotional distress, or you had to see if they're like whatever. Even if you had physical, like let's be honest, some of these abuses that happen are so physically violent that women need a year to like physically a year to recover.
Yeah,
Broken bones, smashed faces, jaws that are wired together. This
yeah,
is serious stuff. And so the laws were changed to allow for all of these, like to get a better picture of what actually was going on.
yeah.
And I was all for all of that. I
And
absolutely.
Evan, like when they passed the Phoenix Act, it was they initially wanted 10 years and then the state like dialed it back
Mhm.
to I think maybe 3 or 5. I really believe at minimum 10 years is a fair statute of limitations in criminal
Mhm.
cases. I really do.
Mhm.
Just because, I mean, look at that Diddy Cassie case, look at that
Exactly.
case, and they can't prosecute him in LA because of the statute of limitations. And, that is horrific abuse. It does take time for you to kind of get your bearings and
Well,
get
because she was in the
yourself
relationship the
yeah.
whole time. The statute of limitations should start like when the abuse stops, and then you get 10 years.
Yeah,
That's
I
what I think.
agree. I do
Because
agree.
there should be like some kind of amendment or hook put in there for that.
Yeah, but
Um,
that's a good example to bring up because the next thing I was going to bring up is like Melissa Schuman. She claims she filed under this law, which argues that there has to be some kind of a cover up. However, she's provided no evidence of a cover up in any capacity.
mhm,
Diddy paying off the hotel for the footage, that's a cover up.
that's true.
Scientology, Danny Masterson case, 1,000%
Cover up.
covering up. Nick Carter, Melissa Schuman had this happened allegedly in 2003. They did have a one night stand. They're just debating if
They
it was
did, and
consensual
can
or
we
not.
just say that she actually admits that that one night stand actually happened in a bed in his home with two
hmm
people sleeping on the floor right there?
Yeah, there was someone in the room. I think one in the room, one in the like family room, or two in the family room. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
I don't
at
know.
one point she
Her
says that her
story
friend,
has changed a
yeah,
lot, but
yeah, and her
it's hard
friend's
to keep
story,
track
yeah.
with what actually really happened compared to her evolving story. But my point, though, is she had many years to go to the police, did not. She had
Mhm.
many years to talk openly, publicly, she did not. All of this only happened after the Me Too movement. And I know that some people will say, well, that was the spirit of the movement. Sure, you can argue that, but then you also have to look at all of the
And I would
testimony.
say for the majority of women that that's true. And I would say I could even back up Melissa Schuman if she had done this. She wrote a blog on 2017 to get her story out, to be free of it. She says that's all it was. But when that blog didn't get any traction, she started a PR campaign on Twitter and everywhere else. She took the link and she went forward, and then once it went viral, she went vocal. Like,
Yeah. And
it spoke
then,
to me of agenda, and like, if you if you're gonna be pulling in a movement that's supposed to be for the good of everybody, like, I get that. If you're for the greater good, that's fine, and I want people to heal and I want them to be better. But when you turn it into, well, what's best for me, I need to get this out of it, I need to get it more
mhm,
bumps in a career, I need to get opportunity, I need to get money out of it, I need to do this, that just speaks more of agenda and entitlement,
yeah,
and it just makes me a little leery of the situation, makes me look deeper. Obviously, I did started digging really, really deep as soon as I saw the date of the blog
mhm,
post. And then, well, that blog got nothing. Like, nobody ever heard of it then. When did this blow up? And then
yeah,
I saw how she got it to blow up. That's when I went, aha, aha. Okay, I got to look into this a little bit more. There's something going on here. Yeah.
yeah. I still firmly believe that every allegation that is lodged should be heard and
Mm-hmm.
given space to be investigated and evaluated. Honestly, I also feel like, honestly, evaluating an allegation can mean, pointing out facts that dispute it. And that's not harassment, that's just pointing out facts. And facts are not harassment. Facts are what, I think
Well,
in the
and
abuse
question,
situation, like
question.
if I was to accuse you of murdering someone, I would hope somebody would ask some questions before they put you away in
Oh, they would.
prison for the
There would be
rest of
clips.
your
I can
life.
tell you, Troy. There'd be clips of every time I threatened to murder something or somebody, like on YouTube, or I was a little too animated, or I spoke violently. Like I always say, I'll take the Jersey bat to you. Like, I don't. Yeah, there'd be all that. But I would hope people could look past it, because it's very easy to clip anything and present anything in a way to tell a story, but you have to actually then pull that story apart for the actual facts, the collaborated, and here's the word, the collaborated and confirmed facts of the matter. Okay.
Hmm.
Like, you need more than, like, well, this and this. You need, like, this one said this one confirmed this one was there. You know what I mean? Collaborated and confirmed facts weigh a lot more than the statement, this happened. And that's the way it should be. Okay, and it could be unfortunate when it's he said she said, but that's the facts in a court of law, in civil or criminal. That's what's going to matter. What
Okay.
makes reasonable sense to a jury or a judge, right? you know Now Melissa Schuman can say, well, Nick Carter must have paid all those people to say that. Prove it. Where? Can you subpoena his bank accounts and show the transfers, like something? Like, I'm not going to believe it just because you say it. Like,
Hmm.
what I'm going to believe is, why are your friends and everybody who work with you not willing to support your story? Because you never said anything to them. You're saying it now, and you're saying you told them, and they're not even collaborating that you told them. And so, like, somebody, like, to come out against your friend, or to come out publicly, here's the thing, to come out publicly against a victim is not easy.
No,
I'm
it's
sure, I'm
not.
sure everybody that is in Nick Carter's filing doesn't want to be associated with victim blaming, or to be accused of going against, somebody who was hurt in any way. But they want the truth. And I think that they believe that they are telling the truth, and they don't, and they want the truth out there, and that they think that this is wrong. Like, I think it weighs more on that side than the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do agree. And it's really just unfortunate all the way around, because this has been going on for 17 to 2014, and it's been, or 2024, and it's been really constant for him.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
and when people access the court documents, which is on, I have them all on a Google Drive, and you can easily just
It's linked.
access.
It's linked. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
linked below.
when you go through and you see the quantity of how much of this stuff was being put out there day after day, and they're
Mhm.
subtweeting every single media outlet, and they're
Mhm.
comparing him to Harvey Weinstein and all these things, like, it was relentless. And this is something that he let take place for many, many, many years. He didn't do anything. And when that one girl, December 2022, stood up there and put on that bizarre fever dream of a press conference, he
That
said,
was
you
too
know what?
much. Too
Now's
much.
the time I have to defend myself. And that is his
How,
right.
how surreal is that to watch a press conference of somebody accusing you of all this and you've never even met the person? You have
It
no
has
idea
to
who
be
they are.
very strange.
Like, and it's like, and then you're seeing everything. And that's what I mean. For him to actually press, to countersue this
Mm-hmm.
person, optically, I'm sure public relations was like, don't do it, don't do it. Like, they're going to say, like, you're just ganging up on her, you're like victim blaming, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. I
And
mean, she
he's,
is a very sympathetic, like, person,
mm-hmm.
like
She
you know you,
is.
you and so it had to be a very, very tough decision, and to put your family through it. I'm sure he has the support that he needs. I can tell by the fact, like, he's going hard, like, on this. And I'm sure,
Yeah.
and I'm hoping he has this, like, hey Molly, it's good to see you. You guys, that is
Yes.
Molly is also covering this case. I have seen that she's done some good stuff
She's,
on
yeah,
this
she
case.
was
Yeah,
the first brave person to say, you know what,
this
something's
smells
is not
fishy.
adding up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dead
Yeah.
fish. I smell
And,
dead fish.
you
Yeah.
know, and last spring, Melissa Schuman tried to file a restraining order against Molly for civil harassment, and the court denied it and said, you know, when you're putting out a public statement, somebody has the right to say that they don't agree with you, and that does not
Exactly.
constitute
Yeah.
harassment.
Yeah. And I'm sorry they went after you like that, but thank you so much for sharing the live. I appreciate it. I'm just like a small little tiny bear, but I'm glad that you are
Yeah.
covering this in the way you're covering it, with facts. Like, and I'm glad you won the suit against Melissa, because like you can't be silenced either. Like,
Yeah.
we're allowed to say, like, when you told me that people would be aware of this, I'm saying, like, well, hopefully they will have an open mind like we do. I will allow other people's
Mm-hmm.
opinions in the chart, and I even told them, I put a new banner up to say, like, ask us questions if you want. I don't want to slam victims, but I do not. I mean, when Me Too got so bad, I said men too. I'm like, I have brothers. I have family and friends that have had horrible things happen to them in the legal system just because of the way we skew things. And the one thing that happened during Me Too, when we did the legislation for women and children, we left men out. When we did
We
new
did.
legislation all over the United States, from state to state, everywhere, about abuse of victims and how they should be allowed to come forward and press charges and get their story and be taught and be treated with dignity and put certain protections in place, we called it the Women and Children's Bill. What and that was so offensive
Yeah.
to me. Sorry, because like now you're just making it worse. Now it's like dog pile on the guy, like it's always the guy, as if they don't get abused, as if
Yeah.
that doesn't happen to them. That's not right either. Like, you don't get to swing the pendulum the opposite way and think it's okay. It should stay in the middle, right? It should be
Right.
equal. you know, it, it was infuriating, and they don't see it. They think they're doing something good. They're like riding a movement, a wave, thinking they're on the bus of righteousness, heading for a brick wall because it's going to start all over again on the opposite side. It's like, they don't. It
Yeah.
was ridiculous. But back to Nick. Like, we're waiting now. He's got his. This is only one part of the case where he filed that motion in May, and I think this one,
Mm-hmm.
in if it
So
correct, it's about
tomorrow,
stay, right?
yeah, tomorrow he has a hearing in LA County because this active big case was happening in Clark County. He petitioned the court late last year to just dismiss that case outright because to avoid trying the same facts, the same witnesses and everything in two different states and counties.
Mm-hmm.
The court denied that, but they in the ruling, the judge indicated kind of, an open mind to potentially staying the case. So he has followed up with a motion to stay the case, just to put it on hold until the outcome of the bigger Las Vegas case comes to fruition. And that hearing is tomorrow. And it'll be interesting to see what happens, because I think you and I would agree that, LA County is, home ground
Uh,
to me too. LA County is so different. I actually love that
I
his,
would put it this way. LA County does not hide the fact that they are politically motivated on the Me Too mission politically, have everybody signed up. It's part of their agenda. It's part of their platform for getting
yeah,
voted in.
but
Has there been a problem in that area of people not being believed? Yes, I
yeah,
understand why they're doing it, but they're doing it so hard that they're actually, like, we know from other cases that they're not going into the details, they're not releasing evidence, they're not freeing stuff up, they've stopped everything else, because only if they've got a slam dunk that's going to win them on their platform, okay, over here, are they going to push it forward. And I would say I've seen it throughout, from the police department all the way up politically to everybody that gets voted in. I will say that.
yeah.
I don't think
It's
that the
not a
police
perfect
mean to
system.
be prejudicial, but they can
Yeah.
get the evidence, but they can't get cases filed, and they can't get the DA to press charges or investigate, or to say that investigations are over 3.5 or 4 years later when they found nothing, because they won't even close a case because it would be against their agenda.
Yes.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Yeah, yeah. I think, and I don't, but let's just say that it's definitely
I'm
politically involved right
optimistic.
now.
I'm heading into it I'm trying to keep an optimistic thing, but I'm also, don't want to ever enter something overly optimistic. And, I think the court is certainly going to hear that there is a case happening elsewhere, but that judges evaluate the case that's before them and the facts that are presented
Mm-hmm.
before them.
Yeah.
So it could very, very well rule in Schuman's favor or Nick's favor. We can't say, we're not judge or jury, but that's the big thing that's happening in LA tomorrow. And then next month is not next month. Then the following week is another anti-SLAPP hearing in Las Vegas. And then the next month is a summary motion.
Now that anti-SLAPP in LA, all right, that's Melissa Schuman against him, saying that
this is kind of more of it's the one that you referenced that has the criminal background. Ashley
the
is her
third
name.
accuser, Ashley, is that one?
Which I'm not saying, like, just
Ashley
because you have a criminal doesn't mean you can't be.
No, but that one's
Yeah.
the most interesting when people go into it. And please do watch the video I linked down below, because they're going to give you much more detail than Kelly and I can in this short period of time. In this was almost like fan maniacal obsession stuff going on, and there was some crazy things going on with this particular person before the accusations were even made. This is somebody who inserted themselves very much into the situation. And just like go look at all the details first. Like, I don't want to say too much.
She was a very big Backstreet Boy fan, and she was like putting together fan sites back in the day. She would cosplay for years and pretend that she was Nick online in chat rooms. At one point, she was telling people that she was a family friend of the Carters and that his father had passed away, and to send who he was alive at the time, to send condolence messages to her that she would pass along. Her boyfriend has testified on behalf of Nick's case that for many, many years she was very proud of the fact that she had consensual sex with the Backstreet Boys. She told the police as much. Like, it goes on and on and on.
She actually, in her police report, said that too, and to multiple friends who have shared the actual text messages in phone conversations in public. She has made public postings on it.
Yeah.
And I guess they think that none of that exists when you enter a court of law, but like, your life's your life. You make an accusation against somebody, you're opening yourself up for everything. I mean, everything you've ever done, what you had for breakfast like when you were 5 years old, like if you did anything, like they can find out. They will know. Somebody's going to be able to tell them, or
Her
be willing to tell that side of the story. Like you have to be careful, and that's what makes this so obviously, to me, it's really obvious.
her case is odd too, just because I know that you and I both follow different. I've never seen this, and you can tell me if you have. She initially filed a motion to dismiss, which she lost, but before that hearing even took place, she already, like the night before she filed her, or day before she filed her anti-slap motion, which I thought strategically was kind of an odd move, because you might want to get the judge's thoughts, to put those best arguments forward for yourself in the anti-slap motion. But with the anti-slap motion, she didn't even file any evidence. I've not seen that. That was kind of
Okay.
strange.
Well, no, that's not true, because look at like Evan Rachel Wood. Okay,
She filed evidence a lot.
she filed
A
some of
lot of it was thrown out, but
It was a
she
lot of it
did.
was, it wasn't really relevant. This is what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But can we just say that there's a pattern here on what they do? They want to silence the person they're accusing completely. Like he doesn't get, like, why file an anti-slap? You're not allowed to push back. If this is what happened, why aren't we allowed to ask you questions? Why aren't we allowed to see what you have? Like, why aren't we allowed to do that? Like, I don't understand. Like, he's not, listen, it's not Nick Carter who's out here doing press releases every day. It is not Nick Carter who did all, who's putting it out there on the social medias whenever he gets a chance. Okay. So
No.
why, this anti-slap stuff, like, we're allowed to accuse you under free speech. Well, free speech does not mean no repercussions. Okay.
And it goes both ways.
Mm-hmm. And they say, oh, you're just trying to intimidate me by pressing, no, we're trying to get like the truth. I want the truth to come out. I don't want to see somebody and everybody that has anything to do with them, because when they did this against Nick, it wasn't just Nick that they affected in 2017. Melissa Schuman, and let's just say that this was a pop person. She was in the public. She is a public figure too. Nowhere near a Backstreet Boy, but she was in the industry. She knows what to do. She was very well connected, and she knew what was going to happen to all of them. And I think there needs to be, like, I think if the organization went after her, like, I think she needs to be careful. I really do, because like if they can't prove this, I mean, especially, I mean, you can't get blood from a stone. I get that. But in the Shay case alone, with everybody coming out and saying it's absolutely not true, her whole circle around her is saying, come on, like, get some help. This is not true. This is not the way to do something. She's looking at,
sad.
I mean, realistically, couldn't the organization that lost the money too, not just Nick Carter, but like, he's not the only one that lost $2 million. Every Backstreet Boy involved in that tour and those shows and that career lost at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah, I mean, really, Nick he's fighting to clear his name, but in terms of to recover like monetary stuff, there's really no way to put a price tag on it, because you know that I love me some data and I love Google Trends, and I wish Google Trends went back even further to like 2003, because it would be interesting. But Google Trends came out in like 2004. If you look at Nick Carter's name, you'll see different spikes through the years, like, oh, when one sibling will pass away tragically, he's sadly lost three.
Lot of tragedy in that family. Yeah.
The biggest spike that he has ever faced, by no comparison to the others, is after that December 2022 press conference. So there's no way to even put a dollar figure on how much damage that can really do to somebody's reputation, because you can't recoup all of that.
Right, and he definitely proved that immediately after that press conference, that's when all the cancellations happened.
Yeah,
so
I mean, really, it was within just a couple hours. It's like, okay, this happened and you're done.
And that could be the most tedious part of a trial, as we learned in DIP, when they had to prove like what contracts and what standard procedure and like who does what. Like, oh, that was like, mind-boggling, right, Mandy? Like days of that.
Yeah,
Like,
those are like
you know.
the more like dry
But
moments,
unfortunately,
but it's important.
that's
It's
what you have
very
to
important.
prove. That's what you have to prove when you are the public figure. You don't even get to say this hurt me emotionally and it's not true and you damaged me as a human being. You have to prove financial loss in
Yeah, you
malice.
can just say that
Yeah.
hurt my feelings.
Right.
And
Which a normal person, you or I, would be able to say that's just wrong to do to a human. Like it's almost like they don't have that right, and I kind of feel bad because
it
they
is,
should.
yeah.
Yeah,
They should have that right to defend themselves. And in this kind of situation, it's very sad how much, like we were saying about Shay, that case. I mean, she admitted within the direct messages to her friends, like, he
that it
never
wasn't.
did anything to me. Like, it's sad how long that has been able
She
to
admitted
continue in our
she
system.
said something mean and made me feel bad. Like she was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't happen. Yeah. But it that was kind of evident when she says this one saw that what he did to my arm. I showed her and they took pictures. She said, "No, I never took any pictures of her arm. I don't know what she's talking about. I never saw any bruising. Like she never mentioned anything. You know, it, I mean that was hard to hear. Like to look and I felt in a way I have great sympathy for Shay. This is somebody who I think is being manipulated from some need to be within the circle of it with friends
Yeah.
or whatever. But when your
I
own
mean,
friends won't even back you up about anything that was said, it's
I I don't think I like to think she's an adult and she has agency, but really across the board I find the whole situation sad because all of these claims, her claim, as we just said, is factually impossible, but that's from 2001. That was 23 years ago. So even
hmm
if you did have one terrible night 23 years ago, I would hope, really sincerely hope, that you could be in a good place.
like
And like
hopefully have
that,
people around her
that,
to help her with that, to help her with
yeah.
it, and
Hmm.
to get her on the right path to healing and get help into and for dealing with it. Because actually making up more stuff around it is damaging to even what may or may not have happened. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
when you and I just feel for her. I want her to get help. Because here it is with this motion for summary judgment, if it comes on her, they're all going to back away from her. They're not going to be here to help her. I doubt the Schumans will be backing her up. They're already backing away from her because of the evidence that's come out that it's not true. Okay, and they just want to act like they don't even have anything to do with it. But I saw,
It'll be, I mean, it'll be interesting because you know anything can happen, and you know that I'm
true, and it's a
friends,
matter
you
of
know
what
what, I'm
they
friends
actually.
with
Yeah.
Smithline, who recanted in the Manson cases, who
hmm
is in a really great place, and she's such a hoot. But and she, what now, more than 2 years or a year and a half after recanting, still 100% stands by her sworn testimony that Marilyn Manson
hmm
didn't do a thing to her, that she was coerced into lying and believing things
And
happened that didn't happen, that
and
she
look
had
how they all
repressed
turned on her.
memories.
Yeah, look
And
how they turned.
repressed memories is something that also comes up in, like Melissa Schuman, or Shay says Melissa Schuman helped her recover her memories. And, you know,
Oh
it,
my,
it,
I
it
wanted to
feels
say
like
something
that's not a
smarty.
fix all. That's not
Did
a
she
fix
go?
all to
No,
just
it's
say,
not.
yeah,
But
no.
this all sounds so familiar. Like, did
Hmm.
she go to those meetings in the Manson thing? Like, did they, like, it's like going down the sticky note. Do you see? You hear what I'm saying, Kelly?
Yeah.
Like, you know the sticky note I'm talking about that was on
Yeah.
like Ilma's computer. Like, I could go down that sticky note and go play by play. So where is this all coming from? A movement that has got an agenda of its own that is not necessarily for the good of all at all. And
I'm not saying that they're inspired by the Manson accusers. I don't know if these are ideas
no,
that
no,
their
no. I'm just
attorneys are
like
planning them. I
it's
don't
just going down the same
know.
playlist. It's like so my
Yeah.
gosh, and it's unfortunate because I really do think it does. damage to real cases. Because let's remember, this is civil. Civil's always for, I want money for something you did I didn't like. I want, I feel bad about something you did. I want money. This, I got no criminal case against you. That nobody's going to charge you for it. And can also be used often to pressure people into doing what you want politically or public relations wise. It's like a PR thing. It's like,
Yeah.
sale, like it's like that next step, you know. Um, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I don't want to see them get the positive publicity that they think they're going to get out of it. I don't really think Melissa Schuman has gotten the public publicity she thought she would. She got a lot of publicity, but I see a lot of pushback. I see a lot of like
Yeah.
hidden replies on all of her stuff. Like she won't show you what they're saying. They're saying like, people are pushing back. And when you have
I
to hide stuff, when you have to hide one side of the story, like that doesn't really bode well for transparency. You know,
I know that she teased, I guess, yesterday that she has new music. I sincerely think that's great. Focus on new music. Like, I really am all for people putting their time into positive
hmm
outlets than destroying somebody's life. Um, I don't know how it's all going to play out, but unfortunately, I don't think I don't think it's going to. You know how these things are; they get ugly. They do.
they do, and it's unfortunate because like the comparison in the Manson case to this case could be that we're talking about young women that were they're with a more famous person. Maybe they did something that later they may not have meant that choice if they were all starry-eyed or whatever or whatever. Having regret does not mean that somebody did something again to you against your will. Like you know what I mean? Like it's like, to me it smells a little that way. um the things that she focuses on, her age, or the other one who actually lied about her age and actually has put him in a very
Hmm.
precarious position. I mean, he could have been charged with statutory based on her age. Well, they've got the statements that it was consensual, but sometimes that doesn't even matter because the state can still prosecute you
Yeah.
for statutory with or without the victim if the age
Yeah.
thing is
Well,
there. Oh,
she was very very actively cons- c- committing deceit. Like they even her the family threw her a 19th birthday party. That's how much she
exactly.
was lying to people. She was traveling out of state for weeks alone at a time. I I personally have sympathy for her because I feel like if I was a teenager, I know I if I was out of state for weeks at a time, my mom would be concerned. So I just feel like I don't know, maybe the home life wasn't the best, but it doesn't
Yeah,
give you
I
kind
have
of
no idea
this
with motive
yeah.
there, but all I know is there's so many holes in the repeated statements that made this
Yeah.
like Swiss cheese, and there's so much confirmatory
Yeah.
evidence in black and white with her own words, her own
Hmm.
actions that actually
To the
confirms the
police.
opposite to the police and everyone
The
that are actually
police
totally the opposite of what she's saying now.
Yeah, the
So
police, after they conducted so many different interviews and they knew that the Carter family at that time was, I'm not going to say they were famous on the level of the Jacksons, but kind of like that. Like they were a family,
they
famous
were,
family. So
yeah,
they had a policy on their property that you had to be over the age of 18 and you had to sign in and that kind of thing, presenting ID. So some kind of false identification was presented. She said to the police it was consensual. Many, many interviews were conducted, and the prosecutor ultimately decided that they said, we're not only not going to clear Nick, if we were to consider charges, it would be against her, which they
yeah.
didn't pursue.
But that's a strong statement. That tells you
Hmm.
what we're dealing with here. And I'm glad you brought that up because that's a strong statement from law
Hmm.
enforcement. They don't go that far. Like they don't
No.
like, yeah. They actually saw something nefarious there if they said that. They were trying to
Hmm.
let her know publicly, you need to stop. But
Yeah.
she didn't, did she? No. Mm. And now all of this evidence is there, all of her reporting to the police, what they found is all going to be part of this if it goes forward. It's all going to be part of it if it actually gets to a trial, and that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Um, and I just I it's the whole process that really gets me, especially the media involvement, how you can manipulate media this way. When media gets involved in these lawsuits like this really annoys me. Like really, really annoys me, because that's when they should be
Yeah.
just black and white facts. But no, there's like, where am I going to get the best numbers? Where's the most sympathetic angle? Like, what's going to get the best views? Who's paying me what?
And
Like,
I know it sounds like, to somebody who's maybe just tuning in, and I feel like it probably sounds this way to people that tune into the Manson podcast, it might seem like we're only focusing on his evidence, but that's
we're not.
because the women actually, they've not filed evidence.
They
The
won't. They
only
refuse to
evidence,
until trial. Right. They're trying
yeah,
to force a settlement is what it is. It's like sleight of hand. You can't see what I have, because then you'll never
yeah.
settle. And
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 I
everybody knows civil cases are put forth with the premise that it's going to settle out of court. Like
mm-hmm,
almost all of them do. Okay. It's very rare for it to go actually to trial, right?
yeah.
It's like sleight of hand. They're not going to show anything because they don't want you to know, because they want their best deal. And I think that the reason he has shown is because he's saying, whatever you do have, I know it didn't happen, and I am going to do my best to prove that it didn't. And that's why I say I'm like leaning more that way. I will be honest, I'm leaning. It's obvious that I'm leaning
Well,
more that way.
I know how you are, and you know how I am. Like, I can be fair as fair on different things. And, I think Melissa Schuman, she filed a very small, not even 2-page statement from a counselor who said, I believe she believes she was essayed. So that was one piece of testimony. And then her friend did file something
Right.
from
Well,
years ago, but again, it was a really small statement, and that's it. That doesn't mean down the line things can't come out.
you know what?
And
But
at
I
trial,
could I could say the same thing. I do believe that perhaps Melissa Schumann does believe that maybe it did
it's
happen.
very possible.
It's
Sometimes
possible.
people just kind of can believe their own BS, I guess. But I know that if you saw something that was a really strong piece of evidence, you're not going to be like, oh, I'm just going to pretend that doesn't exist. Like,
You know,
you're not that way. I'm not that
mhm.
way. We would
Because the people that
honestly
are
review it.
yeah, the like if you talk about the different sides of the two coins to the story, the two sides, the people that are supporting let's say Nick Carter's side of the coin, his stories, they are not necessarily his friends. They are not
No,
necessarily
they're
in
actually the
his.
friends of the females.
This is what stood out to me. He used everybody from the tour that no longer works for him, that have no association, so there's no financial gain or anything like that. These women's own friends, associates. His friend,
Hmm.
he's no longer friend with the one with Melissa Schumann. They had a falling out, and he still said, he put the evidence of Melissa trying to coerce him into testifying for her about stuff and checking to
Hmm.
make sure that he wasn't going to go against her. And he's like not even friends with him anymore. They had a falling out that seemed to be pretty serious, but even he said, like, wrong is wrong. Like, I'm not going to be manipulated this
Hmm.
way. Okay. I have to say, like, it must have been, he was right there on the floor the whole time. So,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
his statement is interesting because he I think he brought up a point that I hadn't thought of or wouldn't have thought of. He said it actually felt like an insult to my manhood or manliness that I to imply that I would let something like that happen to a
exactly. He was
woman right
upset.
next to me. Like,
Yeah,
I
like
would definitely do something. And her manager said the same thing. Like, I would
she said, I would
absolutely
remember, I
not.
would know, I would have done something about it. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? And this is what people are saying, like, that's not like fair. And he also brought up some good points too, that they were all together for a large period of time before and after, and there was nothing. There was kissing, cuddling, making out. There was like a whole, like, the couples were hooking up. Like, that's all there was to it. Oh, he didn't hook up with her friend. She wasn't interested, like, and he let it be, like, but they were drinking and partying, whatever. There was more people there than just the four of them too, and they spent time before and after the alleged event happened. And no rush to leave, no rush to do anything. Um, yeah, it's like, I don't know, like I can't.
Oh, I forgot to mention one thing that everybody that's watching this should know. These trials are not televised live. The hearings are
No,
not televised live or whatnot. But
not for LA.
there's a fantastic nonprofit organization called Our Nevada Judges, which I feel like every
LinkedIn.
state would be great to have. Like what they do is phenomenal, and they provide transparency within their court system. So
Hmm.
they cover a multitude of cases, not just this one. And they have a YouTube channel, and you can watch. They request media access to the hearings and they make those
Hmm.
available. And they do such a great job because they put like, if there's certain terminology that's said, they'll like put like a blurb up, like, what does this
Hmm.
mean? Like, they really do such a phenomenal job. So anyone who is interested in these cases, I would encourage also to really watch the hearings, because it's really amazing to see
Yep.
what goes on actually in the hearing
I
space.
have watched a few things over there.
Hmm.
Some of the people in the chat will know they do the Chile Castro, Nevada ones down there. I did put the
Yeah.
link to their webpage, and the last hearing that Nick that the case had is linked down below in the description. I tried to give you guys a good source. I've linked Kelly's Twitter for this because Kelly, we know, has two Twitters. She's got Justice for Marilyn Manson, where she puts the link for all of that case information. But on this one, Justice for Kelly, she's got the Nick Carter link to the drive for the case documents and everything. Everything's linked below for you. We want you to
I
be able to
like
decide on
I
your own, you know?
I think it's funny how I've kind of become coined Justice Kelly. The only reason I put Justice on that Twitter bio is because it was during the heat of the Johnny Depp thing. And I was like, no, I'm just out here for justice.
Just
That's the only
justice. We just
reason
want
I
to, yeah.
put it there, and it just kind of stuck. So I left it there.
I kind of like it. I like calling you Justice for Kelly.
But
Like,
it's
I think
lowercase because I'm not really a judge.
I like the way she did that too. She's just like, I'm going to be a little humble about it, but I got the facts, people. Like, like I got the facts. Like, come read them. Like, you know. But it's true.
Yeah. Or
We
debate me.
definitely,
Debate
yeah, or
me. I can
yeah,
debate.
debate. And it's, we got to find something to debate because we're too much on the same page. I think
I
sometimes.
know.
Like,
We need to be at
um,
odds on a case.
but it's kind of hard not to be on the same page with some of the ones that we're covering because we both
Hmm.
look at the facts and then we're like, uh huh, okay,
Oh,
wait,
yeah.
hold on.
We're
And,
we
and
are
believe me,
drawn
this
to
is not
similar
popular.
cases.
I get
Yeah.
more heat every time I speak out against the changes that Me Too has become. I think it's morphed into something that is just not working anymore for what its intention was. Okay, it's gone awry, and whenever I speak out on it, I
I,
get a lot of heat, but I'm going to keep doing it because it
I
has.
try to have
It has.
I try to have faith that in the real world, which the media is not the real world, that in the real world and our daily communities, that positive change has come out of that people
Mhm.
are more aware of, what to do if you're observing something, or if you
Yeah.
feel
Mhm.
uncomfortable, what is appropriate, what's not appropriate. I think it's fantastic how many men that I've witnessed actually intervene in scenarios where they feel like a woman is uncomfortable because they've learned through the Me Too movement. So I feel like there's definitely positives to it. And I
Mhm.
just feel like the media space really distorts
They
things. Yeah.
they kind of do. It really does.
Or maybe that's my eternal optimist in me. Like, yeah,
I don't
we're.
know. That's why we both list all of the facts, like what we're reading and what we're looking at and where to get additional information. Because I'm not trying to sway anybody.
Yeah.
This is just how I feel
Liam,
about this one.
thank you,
Yeah.
Liam. Liam threw the
Yeah.
link to their channel.
Thank
They're
thank you.
fantastic.
Yeah, they really are. Thank you so much, Liam. It's a good one. And also, Mark Caesar, I just want to compliment you on constantly singing Backstreet Boys lyrics through the chat during this whole thing. It was necessary. It actually kept me on a lighter note, and I appreciate it because I can get on a soapbox and get a little rough with this stuff. And
Do you know
you've done a good service there.
I have never seen the Backstreet Boys in concert, and I'm hoping
Nope.
that they actually like announce a tour. Nick is coming back to the US. He's doing a solo tour this fall, and I think I might go to one of those dates. But it's like, yeah, I kind of forgot about them, and I learned that they're a lot of fun to see in concert. So I hope they do a tour. I
Well,
want to go to
you
a
know,
show.
that whole boy band thing, they did used to put on some damn good shows. You know, they
I
really
was
did.
I liked them, but I always was more into I loved like Corn at that time.
You know what? You're me. I'm
Rage
like
Against the
9 inch nail,
Machine.
Rage Against
Yeah,
the
Linus.
Machine, 9 inch nails. You know, give me some Trent Reznor. Give me some, yeah. You know, Chris
But yeah, I
Cornell.
mean, I
Then I
definitely
went
watched
all
TRL.
grunge. Then I went a little bit more grungy with Chris Cornell and everything. But I will say, like, I had friends that were all like New Kids on the Block, Backstreet Boys. Even the one that has Nick Lachey in it. What was that one? Like, I can't remember.
Oh, 98 Degrees. I just was
Oh
at my
yes, them. Yeah.
I, I just was at my grandma's house on 4th of July, and she has a 98 Degrees Christmas album CD. I'm like, Grandma, I can't believe you have this. She's like, I love
Hey,
that album.
grandma's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, they do have great voices. I will
they
say there's
do.
some
Yeah.
incredible voices and harmonies. And, you know, I'm not going to take anything away from it. I just wasn't that girl. I just, you know, I wasn't.
You know, I'm not going to say I met him, but I observed Nick Lachey at a football game
Hmm.
in like the club room. He is a very passionate Cincinnati Bengals fan, and it was a Steelers game, and yeah, things were
Heated.
he's a very passionate football
You know what?
fan,
That
and
must be so surreal to
yeah,
see them
I
out
love
of
it.
the starlight element, you know,
No,
so
I
you
love it
you
because
know,
I
in real life and just yelling at a football game,
it's
like
so
at the yeah.
it's such a nice common denominator because I love football, as I know many Americans do. I prefer it to baseball any day of the week. But yeah, to see him kind of like in
Passionate about
a
it. Yeah, yeah.
passionate dispute with a Steelers fan was kind of funny.
Yep.
Like, oh yeah,
No,
that's Nick
it is.
Lachey.
It is definitely. But
I
damn,
should have popped in like, hey, can I get a photo? No, I'm kidding.
yeah, just like 100,000 other people like thinking the same thing
Yeah,
too. Can you imagine? You
let
know,
me
but I
get
had
an autograph.
you know, I'm from New Jersey, so I have that whole thing with Bon Jovi too. Like we used to go to the school, he used to do like little things, you know, for some of the teachers and stuff. And trying to be normal around them is not easy. Although he's a very down to earth, normal person. Like
He
he lives
is,
in
yeah,
the
he
town. He's
is.
got a restaurant where you can go in and it's like you can pay whatever you want and they're teaching kids to cook and they're feeding the homeless and it's very profitable business and he's marketing this chain all over the country
Yeah,
now. And he and his wife are really they're still part of the same community they grew up in. Yes,
yeah,
they live in a big house all tied off in the middle, they're better off than most. But talk about down to earth, you know? Like when you go in there and you see them washing dishes and you're like, it's surreal. Like Kelly, I'm sitting there, you know, and you're
yeah.
sitting there having dinner and you know he's washing the dishes because that's the only thing she'll let him do there right now.
Oh,
But
that's funny.
and it's like so normal. You're like, this just can't be real. But they are just normal people and stuff happens to
Yeah, and
them,
you know,
you know?
Nick Carter and his wife, they're very everything I've heard is that they're just very normal down because I've
Hmm.
connected with a lot of the different fans that they've had through the years, and I love hearing their different stories because it's nice to hear just how normal and down to earth he
Hmm.
is. You
Right.
know, he's not a I'm Beyonce or, you know, Diddy like swagger. He seems very
Hmm.
kind of like down to earth, kind of like Nick Lachey.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, my favorite one from there. I'm sorry, Nick, but my favorite was Brian. He was cute. He's adorable. Sorry.
Brian, yeah, Brian came forward as
Mhm.
a witness and
Yeah,
testified for Nick.
he
Yeah.
did. I was glad to
Hmm.
see that. Like because I wonder, like this had to affect all of their relationships because it's
Absolutely.
just so hard. And you know what? They all were very handsome, very adorable, and I'm sure there's groupies everywhere. And I'm not even going to talk about that kind of lifestyle, but accountability, whatever. If he says things were, and most other people say that things were consensual on the ones that he will admit happened, um, you know, his statement in regards to Melissa was touching, actually. He said we got along. I never like I was very respectful of her. In any way did I not think anything that happened between us during our whole relationship was not consensual. Like he's shocked. He didn't know anything was wrong until the blog.
No, No,
because
he seemed shocked.
if you watch some of the stuff that I watched down below, or you look at some of the stuff that is in the filings, you will see that she promoted them. She wanted to work with them. She's still associated pretty
The one that
closely.
stands out to me, and I don't know if it's made it into evidence yet, but this is one that was shown to me by the fans and like all this stuff they collected, is that Melissa Schuman, her husband is a backup dancer, and he was on
Uh-huh.
some one of those karaoke shows,
It was like some kind of
lip
idol
sync
show.
battle. Yeah, and so
And Nick
he,
and one of the other ones. Was it AJ? Nick and AJ, or Nick and one of
well,
them?
the
One of
Backstreet Boys were on, I think it was one of those lip sync battle shows, and
mhm.
he proudly posted them on his Instagram. And I'm thinking that's interesting. And then I've listened, like in my own research, I've listened to some podcast episodes of interviewing Melissa, and she said like she told her husband straight away, or like he's when they were dating, and all these boundary things that they had for years. And I'm thinking, well, gosh, if you really, if that's true, like I wouldn't expect my spouse to be celebrating my,
Well, that's the
abuser
thing.
like
And
that.
her public statement on it was, "That's the business. We have to do that." When she posted,
Hmm.
like when people pointed out to her that she was posting all of their concerts in support of Nick, she said, "Well, I was running the Dream account. I have to do that." Dream disbanded the year
Yeah,
before. What is she
yeah.
talking about?
It doesn't
Like
really
she's
add
like, "I'm
up.
running the account. I have to do that," but they're no longer doing anything. And then you say you're doing it to drum up business, but it's the only one you're posting is the Backstreet Boys and Nick, but you're not posting all these other bands that you've worked with and all these other things that you could be
That's
doing.
a very great point, Claire.
Okay, so
I
that's one thing.
I
You see,
haven't seen her out there like chasing down in sync.
exactly. And who, by the way, no
She's
shade on the
clearly a
Backstreet Boys.
BSB girl.
Like if you're gonna go for, you needed some PR, you need to like really get some movement on your count, you should have been up there with NC. You really should. Or
Yeah.
you should have been with some of the other girls projects that were with you at the time. Here's the thing, very inconsistent. Okay, and then all of a sudden she's posting, does the blog, and then does the blog, doesn't get what she wants, gets the heat, no posting for just that year, and then back to it, boom, 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 everywhere. It's a very, the only thing she posted in 2017 was Backstreet Boys stuff. And I do believe it does look like she was just trying to get more to look at what she was saying on the other end of it with that blog in her case. Honest, that's how I looked at it. I'm like, boom, 2016, you're doing this. 2017, wow, did you change? Like, what happened to you? Like, excuse me, it's an
Yeah.
obvious full stop.
Yeah,
Like,
it's kind of like
yeah,
you can never be in someone's mind, but you start to get. I am very big into timelines because, like, if
well,
you look
that's
at
what I'm
different
saying.
time, you see the
Go to that
dots lining
timeline.
up,
Liz.
and
That's
you're
why I
like,
posted that video. That timeline on her social media up till she decided, up until Me Too. Look, that is fair game, I think. Like, just look at it. Just look at it. I'm not saying, make a decision one way or the other. But to me, it tells a story. It tells a story of how can everything be okay? How can I actually covet a relationship with these people? But then all of a sudden it's like, nope, not you. Oh my God, you're so horrible. Like boom, like that. That just doesn't happen like that in the real world, does it? Unless the event
no.
happened right then. But we're talking about an event that happened in 2003 and a continued relationship from 2003 until 2017 when that blog happened,
Hmm.
that was all coveting the attention of that organization, those people, and Nick Carter. It's almost like she was looking at, oh yeah, like an old boyfriend, or like somebody she admired, or like, I would like that
Yeah.
success. It did look like admiration. It was more than just, I have to do this for business. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't know what was in her head. It just doesn't present the way she's telling me what was in her head. It just doesn't look like that to me at all. And
Yeah.
the timeline, that's what you said about the timeline. If you go, that's what this channel that I posted below, Nick Carter allegations, did. They went to
Hmm.
all the socials for the timeline from the time the events happened forward to the blog post. And that was quite eye-opening to me. Now, granted, you got to look for other stuff too. Maybe there's other stuff that they didn't present, and maybe that's out there too. And I will, in
Mhm.
fairness, look for other videos that tell the other story. There is a
Yeah.
documentary out there that tells a totally different story.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah.
and that was interesting because it was like Nick has over to date over I think 35 witnesses now.
Mm-hmm,
And it was interesting how none of them were like included in the documentary project. But
mm-mm.
it was also interesting to me that like
They said very
the,
little
the
about
guy
these
the guy
countersuits.
the guy in that was sleeping in the room omitted from
Mm-hmm,
her story. Like a lot of
mm-hmm.
really big things were omitted that you think, if they were trying to be fair and balanced, you'd think maybe they would really have presented that.
I think they make no bones about trying to be fair and balanced. I think
Yeah,
they did what they did. They were out for get the money to do it. They are into docudrama. That's what it is. You're not getting facts and evidence in these
yeah.
docudramas.
I have I have a low opinion of Discovery ID content, and I love following
I
trials and
used to
stuff.
love to
But I
follow that
always
channel at night, like and fall asleep to it. And now the documentaries they're doing,
I feel like it's always a very slanted view of things. I'd rather just
look
I'm
at
much more into watching trials and things just straight out, and
look at what
then
happened with
talking to
Buster
you about
Murdaugh
it.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Buster Murdaugh is now suing because he was accused of something when he wasn't even being investigated in the murder of Stephen Smith. And yet, when they did their docudramas, they repeatedly put him into the story over and over again because of his last name. Now, that doesn't help solve the case of Stephen Smith.
No, it does
By the way,
not.
no one has been charged yet, and there's all this contrary information. There is actually testimony from people, like affidavits at the grand jury, that say Buster wasn't in the vehicle. Like, they've gone to grand jury with people that were in a vehicle that may have been right in the vicinity, and Buster was not one of them. There's clear evidence, and yet they still repeated it over and over again.
What are your thoughts on Becky Hill? I know this is a total detour to that.
To be careful who you voted to
Yeah.
office, people, because agenda rules. That's what I have to say about Becky Hill. Total agenda, total start. Like, you're talking about a small town. Corrupt. All right. When we talk, okay, I'm gonna. Oh boy, you're gonna be sorry you asked me about this one, Kelly. All right, buckle up, buttercups. Here's the deal on it. Okay, buckle up. Because when it comes to that county in particular, it was run and corrupt by a family doing whatever they want that was involved in law enforcement. We took a long line of the Murdaughs, like a very influential family, and we watched Alex Murdaugh ruined the family name everywhere, judges and everything. We saw all that. We saw plenty of evidence that they wielded influence, and everybody was afraid of them. Okay. So now you've got the regular people. This is a small town. Like, we got a decent judge. Damn, I love Judge Newman. Like, he got this case. He took it all the way forward. But then you've got his court clerk who's like, what's in it for me? Okay. Now she's very well connected and she's very well voted in, and everybody loves her. She gets a book deal. She starts selling like her influence to get people certain seats in the jury, and like not in the jury, I mean like in the courtroom, and she definitely, I do believe she's guilty of everything that they say. After all, her son is up on wiretapping charges just so she knew what was going on behind the scenes with people that were playing the shit. I mean, it's so blatantly obvious that stars got in their eyes and just took over, and these people were thinking their brains went
Uh-huh.
to mush, and all they wanted was like, this is my 15 minutes. This could change my life. I could make all this money, and why not? But like, Alex Murdaugh is a bad guy. I should get something out of it. And I'm just like, wow. Wow.
I
Just like, I think she's guilty, hands down. I know the trial hasn't happened, but they already got her out of service. She really doesn't have much to say. Just the black and white evidence that we all watched is there, right, for us to see.
wasn't it like 67 or so charges
Mm-hmm.
of misconduct.
Oh, now they're finding out she moved money around to
Oh
pay for things,
gosh.
and that she may have absconded. Like, she did things, she did whatever she wanted, like thinking that, like, I'm in charge, I can do it. Like, she's just ignorance. Let me just say this: ignorance of the law will never protect you. saying, I didn't think that was allowable to take it from this account and put it in this account and then use it for this when I called it debt. Like, I didn't know that was against the law. Well, first of all,
Oops.
oops doesn't work.
Yeah, you can't
Yes,
say
on
that.
that, like, just, no. Like,
I
she took it
didn't
both
know it's
off,
not a defense for a crime.
and she actually dishonored an honorable judge. She was the clerk. I
Yeah.
can't believe she did that to everybody she was working with. Like, I hope that they hold her to task. I don't think she's a very popular person right now where she is at
She
all.
probably honestly will have to move. I mean, it's such a small town.
Seriously,
She
seriously, she
won't be
should.
able to escape it.
But she just, like, people just see that, like, well, what's in it for me? Like, this is a gold mine. People are going to be making money. Why can't I get some? Well, she did take an oath of office, and she was expected to do better. She really was. And there was a way to write the book. There was like, see, here's my
Yeah,
problem
you
with it.
could write.
There was a way to do it
Yeah,
correctly, to do it without infringing on the process. She almost got
absolutely.
all those cases. Do you know how many cases she's involved in that may now come under review?
Oh, I can't even imagine.
I'm
It's a got to be a
horrified.
huge mess in that county now.
For that reason alone, I'm like, throw the book at her. Throw every book at her. Put the damn library on her head. Like, you can't do this, people. Like, you're messing everything up. Just crazy.
And
And
the
it's
fact that she didn't come clean on the stand too, like it just that only makes it worse to me. And
this is
unfortunately, I feel like
if a
he
jury
probably will.
member, if a jury member, an average person says they were in a car with you and had a conversation, why are you lying about it? Just buck up.
Yeah.
Why would the jury member lie? You look worse when it comes out. Like, you're in an open car. Like, people can see you. Hello, what if somebody else comes forward and says, "Yeah, I saw them. I saw them drive by the corner of Third and Albuquerque, and yeah, that was Becky Hill sitting there next to the juror in the
Mm-hmm.
car. She drove her home." Like, I don't understand why lie when you know you can get caught. It's almost like she was like, did the peacock thing and said, prove it, like, because I know how court works. It's gonna be hard for you to prove it. Go ahead, you prove it. There's always a chance nobody will come forward. I might get away with it. I'm just like, it made me feel even worse about her. I'm just like, own up to it. Take your lumps. Set the system right. It
Maybe
was.
she's working on another book.
Oh, let's hope it's just as successful as the first one, where the writer that worked with her on it was like, I want nothing to do with you. I'm returning all the money. Like, this is so bad. I
Yeah,
don't want to know nothing about it.
I
Like,
feel bad for that person. They probably had no idea.
they didn't. I mean, and to the fact that they at least had some integrity. They're like, you can all have your money back. This was wrong. This was wrong. She did it wrong. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully he writes another book based on the information. And then wait, then she didn't even do her experience. She plagiarized other articles to the.
Yeah, she did. And she admitted to that.
But Kelly, she was right there. She was I was like, yeah, don't be a Becky, people. Do not be a Becky. That's all
That needs to be an episode of some Brian Murphy series.
oh, it's gotta
American.
be something. Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
god. I still love Judge Newman. I'm still so happy I did that trial. I learned a lot. It was crazy. And I even followed all of the financial crimes, all the sentencing and all of that. It was nuts. I've never seen 110 indictments on somebody. Like, hundreds of charges, all these
Mm-hmm.
indictments, every day a different indictment. That was crazy, the Murdoch case. But Becky, hell, oh my God, don't be a Becky, please, please, people. All right,
Yeah,
off
no,
my
no
soapbox.
one in that town's gonna go name their child Becky for a long time. Oh,
I don't know, Jen. I hope not. I think she's still got to face up to some stuff.
yeah, they'll retire the name Becky for a while. It is a very
Yeah.
small town. I mean, it's just that case is such a circus, and so for that to happen
Mhm.
at the end, and then everything that's come out of it, like it's
Mhm.
just it's
It's
truth
crazy.
is stranger than fiction,
It is,
truly.
especially in that whole case. The truth was actually bizarre and unbelievable. I had my good friend Mandy and I. We it was very hard to believe that whole case that somebody could kill family they loved like that. But like it just the evidence, like he was there. That video shows he was right there, and they died within a minute. So like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You know, Liam, that's a good comment. He said Becky was guilty of the same hubris which Alex had, thinking her office gave her the power to skirt the normal rules of the court in society. I get it. Like they're
Yeah.
special, right? Like we gave them this power for a reason. Yeah. Mm. Mark
Yeah.
would rather be a Becky than a Chad Daybell. I'm sure you would. He's sitting on death row. Hmm. Yep. That one's. I don't know how I feel about that, actually. I don't know. Every
Well, I
day.
mean,
I change my mind every day about that. Oh, is he guilty? Absolutely. Like,
yeah,
absolutely, hands down. Oh, I don't know. Mm.
it's, yeah. There's a few cases that I'm a little on the fence with. Um, the parents who got manslaughter for their son, that was an interesting. I couldn't watch the
Oh,
father's
you mean the
trial.
son who did the student shooting and then he was
Mm-hmm.
convicted and then they tried both the parents? That is a
Yeah.
landmark case. You know, that's going to be something I'm going to go into.
It's
You know,
fascinating because I have my cousin is a parole officer in that county, and her husband works for the sheriff,
mhm.
and he was one of the first responders to that school, and it changed him. He has like completely changed his stance on guns and all these things. But even they, in their position, were kind of like, I don't know, it's like a slippery slope because it is such a
It is
landmark case. We've not seen that. But the negligence when you watch, this is why I couldn't watch the second
the
trial.
evidence.
Like
The evidence.
the evidence against the mother, and you're just like, okay, so then you're fleeing, and all these things are happening, and you're like, wow, and your son is drawing these photos, and you're
Well,
at the
well,
school, and you could
what
take him, and you like,
and you
there's
didn't.
so,
The
yeah.
school told you there was a problem
Mm-hmm.
that needed to be dealt with, and you were like, I'm too busy. He needs to stay here. I'll see you later. And
Yeah.
basically, that is the whole attitude of the evidence against her. And you know what? I don't blame you for not watching the dad's trial because it was even worse. It was, I'm
Yeah,
getting beat
maybe
up
I
at
should go
school.
back and watch
Wait,
it
it
after
was,
the fact.
it's like I'm getting beat up at school. I can't deal with it. I'm having issues. Oh, let me get you a gun and take you to the gun range. Yeah, we can deal with it.
Yeah, it's
it, I, I don't
it's
think
so
that the court should manage how parents take care of their children. But when
no.
parents refuse, put other people's children at
Yeah.
risk,
I mean, 4 lives were lost. 4 lives could still be here
and
today
that's
had
the
the
balance
parents
there.
intervened.
Am I happy that parents got prosecuted? No, I don't want to see that. But do the others deserve justice and a voice? Yes, they
Mm-hmm.
do. And here's the thing with manslaughter. When you could have prevented something that was obvious right here and you don't make an effort to do it, you should be held accountable. Whether it's a shooting or somebody beating somebody up or some assault of any nature or a neglected child, you should be held accountable. That's human nature. You know, like you see the kid next door with a black eye every day going to school. Do you not have an
Mm-hmm.
urge to interfere in some way by at least letting the school? You hope that the school will say something, and they do. We now have laws, okay,
Yeah.
that the school will actually report that. And I'm sorry that parents get questioned. Sorry, not sorry. If you've done
But they, I
nothing
mean, they
wrong, you
are
shouldn't worry about it. But if it was your child that was getting hurt, you would want people to ask questions. Okay,
absolutely.
so like there's a balance, right? I mean, is it a slippery slope? Absolutely. Does it gear towards where we're responsible in our country for how guns are handled? Absolutely. That gun was available, it was missing, and they didn't care. Kelly, that's a
Right.
serious issue. That's
Mm-hmm.
accountability. It's not so much that they're responsible for what the child did, but there was obvious stuff right in their face that they could have done something about. And
Yeah. It was
they
some
made an active choice
extreme
not to.
negligence.
Extreme, right? And I think that, believe me, no DA wanted to go forward with that. That was going to be dicey no matter what. But
Mm-hmm.
it's you got to balance out to what happened in the victims. And when you're talking about school shootings and innocent people dying, like,
I don't
I
want to get too sidetracked from, because I know we've
yeah,
really taken a thing, but did you see the closing arguments of the mom's trial?
yes, yes.
That her, her attorney, the mom's attorney, I was sitting thinking, okay, because her whole point of her closing arguments was, she said, like, oh, if my son takes a gun from the kitchen, am I responsible? Okay, that fine. Maybe that's a reasonable argument.
Wait a
But do
minute.
you
Yes,
remember?
wait. Your son is underage. The gun is in your house. Yes, you are. You are co-owner of that gun.
But do
Where?
you
Oh
remember that
God.
she kept saying, like, by the end of her closing argument, she had said she still has her Christmas decorations up and it was the springtime. She doesn't do her laundry, she just kept trying to make herself seem really negligent as a
Okay,
defense.
so
And it was really
and yet she wants to
interesting.
argue that negligence is the reason she should not be held responsible for
Yeah.
being negligent as a parent. Wow.
It just was odd. It was like 4 people
That-
lost their lives, and you're talking about your
I
Christmas
can't believe
decorations being up. This is a
I
little
can't believe a
different.
lawyer actually let her present that. Like that is
And
like
she raged on about one TikTok creator in particular. She, like, dedicated part of her closing argument. It was very strange. It was strange. And she lost her case.
yes, she did, and she's sitting there, and so is he. And like I realize that there's a lot of feelings on that about people. We don't want the law to go too far, but in this case, it had to be balanced out. And I'd have to say that the DA did what they could to balance it out for the victims in the situation. When they saw such negligence, it's such responsibility, and of course, when more of it comes out, it had to be blatantly in their face. This had to be very uncomfortable to bring forward. That's all I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying. Is like, everybody's like, how could you go that far? That's like the government going too far. I'm like, just imagine what they saw in that house, in the conversations, the real conversations they had with those parents, and what they heard that made
Mm-hmm.
them go forward. Just take a moment to think about the stuff that you didn't get to see in court. You know, they don't
Yeah,
come forward because they think it's a hot ticket and it's going to be fun. I can tell you that. It's not fun. It's not.
no. It's such a tragedy all around.
Exactly.
Because,
Exactly.
4 lives were lost. Their son's in prison. They're now both in prison. I mean, it's so sad.
Yeah, this is one of those topics that, like, for my political show, like I get into in the United States, we have a real issue and it's really hard to deal with. And I understand both sides of it, but there has to be continued dialogue on it. People have to come forward and we have to
Hmm.
engage in those conversations to get change to happen. And it's uncomfortable because you get attacked. You're like, you want to take all your guns away. No, I don't. Just because I'm advocating for reasonable, responsible gun control does not mean I don't want you to have a gun. Like that's not fair.
Right.
The right to protect yourself, I get it. We live in a violent country. I'm on the East Coast. I have to say I live in a violent country from what I see. Maybe other parts of the country aren't like that. I understand why people want to have them. I also understand why people want them taken away. People that lose children unnecessarily in schools or are innocently hit in drive-bys or whatever, robberies, etc.
Yeah.
There's got to be some kind of balance, but it's difficult. It's a very tough because there's no instant solution to any of it. There's not.
No.
Um, it's one step at a time, and it's hard because as soon as you try to make a step, people are like, "You just want to take all the guns away." No, no, that's not true. That's not true.
No.
I do not
Yeah.
dare vote that I will vote for Trump. Mark, you'll stop that right there. Don't get me started. You'll get them all after me again. I can't even say that word. I just said it. Like I'm going to get DMs up the wazoo now. Like, because I said that word. I'm laughing, but it is true. That's another word that really separates everything in our country right now, like terribly. Not gonna have that conversation now, Mark. I'm past my 2 hour mark. Like that's it.
I know.
We're not going there. Kelly, I know we got off as we
No,
normally
no,
do when we
this, yeah.
privately chat, even when we
Yeah.
privately chat, we get off on tangents like this. But that's what's so interesting about our conversations is that you're well read and well informed, even if that even being well informed even makes us have headaches and makes us sad sometimes. We do try to tell everybody what's going on. Like and I appreciate it because I could talk to
Mm-hmm.
somebody who looks at things not exactly how I do. You have a much broader perspective and you come from a different angle on it. But when it comes to just getting
Mm-hmm.
the information out there for people to actually decide for themselves, I know we're both on the same page, and so
Yeah.
I just
We'll
want
have
to
to get on the
thank
same
you for that.
wavelength with the trial. I haven't.
Well, Boone,
Yeah.
you could
Yeah.
join me for
Well,
Boone
Boone
anytime
for
you want.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't followed as many trials this year because it's just my schedule's been. I like. I started putting trials on as like the radio when I was working, But the last trial I watched was the Christopher Gregor
Oh
trial.
yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
follow that. Yeah.
I need to. I
We
feel
should
like.
compare notes, which
Yeah.
ones you're following to which ones I've got in the
Yeah.
server. Like, do you
Yeah.
Discord? Do you do Discord at all? I don't know. Do you know
That
what
is
it
an
is?
app. I have to say I'm pretty tech savvy, but even I like Discord kind of goes over my head. I don't use it that much, but I do have a login so I could add myself
Well,
or add
well,
yours to
yeah.
mine.
I will send you a link to my server. In my library, I have all my cases like listed, and that's where everybody throws like videos on it, and we
Oh.
put documents, and so then you can see like a good idea of some of the stuff that's on my roster. And I can't get to everything every week, obviously. I'm
Yeah.
only out here like so much, but and when you cover a live trial, of course you get behind. Like I'm covering Tate, I'm covering Larry Millett. I'm covering Keefe D, Dwayne Davis with Tupac.
Is the Tate trial, have they set in Romania when that will be?
No date yet, but there was some
Ugh,
movement as
just
far as
lock
this.
that guy up forever and
No,
his
they
brother.
actually just made it so that he could travel within the EU instead of just Romania. However, he still has to check into the local police station next to his house every 48 hours. So I don't know how far he's going to be able to go, for how
Ugh.
long, but and it will be reviewed again in 60 days. He did lose actually his final appeal on getting his assets back because he couldn't prove they weren't gotten with ill-gotten gains. Sorry. So nobody got their assets back
Well,
either.
that'll
Hmm.
be interesting because one of the girls is an American. So if
Mm-hmm.
he is found guilty of the trafficking thing over there, potentially he could face charges here, which I think,
Yeah. Well, there's a civil lawsuit in
yeah,
Florida. He's actually suing two of the victims in his case that are Americans in UK. And one
I'm
of
sure he
them
probably did that just as his
One of them
macho
got the case
bolsterous.
dismissed. The judge just threw it right out. Said, sorry, Tate, sorry. And the other one just actually appealed to get all of the Romania information into her trial. So he's like, you can't sue somebody for defamation if you're actually going to criminal trial in Romania about this. Sorry, like that's coming in.
That's a little backwards.
Yeah, it's a little backwards, but he was trying to silence victims in Florida. He filed in Florida. One judge said, this didn't happen in Florida. We don't care, Mr.
What
Tate.
county is
But
it? I'll look into
I'd
it.
have to double check. I'll have to double check. Because yeah, it's hard to get stuff
Can you
like
hear
boom.
my interest peaking? Like,
I
wait,
can, I
what
can.
county is that?
I'm going to find out for you. The one in Florida, you mean the case that's still active? His civil suit in
Yeah,
Florida? Yeah, I'll get you that. And he's got
yeah.
another one in the UK and a criminal investigation. Like he ain't gonna be done. And this
No,
one in Romania is going
no,
to
but
take quite
Florida,
a while.
like Florida has transparency more. I'm curious. I'd like to read.
Mm.
I'd like to read it. I mean, I actually feel like the indictment. I did watch an attorney on YouTube go through the Romania
I'll
indictment.
be honest with you. When
Mhm.
he said he was filing for defamation, I didn't even pull that case. I don't even have a copy of that case because I laughed so damn hard. I was like, "You got to be kidding me,
It is
Tate?
kind of
Really?"
goofy
It is
because
like everything you have out here in the public, and it's common knowledge you're in Romania, go facing trial. What can you sue her for? Like she said, what? You look funny bald? What are you going to sue her for? Like what the heck
yeah,
can you sue this
he
woman
has a
for?
lot of on-camera admissions. So
Too many, and
yeah,
that's one of the things they're trying to get everything he ever said on the internet not admitted in it. Yeah, he
look at
tried to say
that.
there's no evidence, and I actually showed the tables with all the evidence folders on it. There's no evidence. There's just a whole table with binders that go up like a foot and a half, like and all the way across a 6 foot, 10 foot table. Like no, but there's no evidence.
Nothing to
Nothing.
see here.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing at all. But he's actually saying that the reason they're letting him travel is because his actual criminal case is falling apart. It actually made it through judicial review. It's going to trial based on calendar. It's not falling apart. I don't know what he's talking about. They're actually considering additional charges for witness intimidation and bribery. So, like, what are you talking about? Like, on Twitter, there's quite a few Romanian journalists that are actually
Yeah.
helping get the documentation and stuff like that.
I
But I
think
will find you the
he
counting.
says the complete opposite because he has some kind of a built-in audience that just somehow eats it up, and you're just like, why are they buying into this
There
snake
were people
oil
that literally
bullshit?
posted he was free to leave Romania forever now because the case is over. It's dismissed. And I'm like, are you
Mm,
crazy? Like, oh my.
no, it's not.
But people believe it. Like, you know how it is on Twitter. You're going to have half the people
Oh
believe it.
yeah. Well,
Post anything.
people see it and they think, oh, it's done. Nope. He's just saying that.
Yeah, that's it. All right. We will have plenty to talk. I enjoy talking with you privately and
Yes.
out here.
Yes.
And everybody follow her on both of her Twitters. She will be coming out with more
Yeah.
on her podcast. Either one. I don't even remember. Like, we talked about so much. Did we
It's
talk about
it is
more?
coming
We
out
really
later
did.
this month. Later this week.
Mhm.
We talked about responsibility
Oh,
and accountability.
oh gosh, yeah. Two of my
Two of
favorite
our
words.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like a broken record. Like they go, oh, that bear, yeah, yeah. She always uses that word. Yeah. It's like, but I look forward to it. Any conversation
Yeah.
you want to have, we'll compare some trend. Hopefully, everybody enjoyed this as much as we did. Go here and
Yeah.
there and everywhere. I know the ones in the live chat will enjoy it. Hopefully, some people on YouTube that follow all the trials with me will.
Yeah,
Um,
and you
and
could
check out
even
the information below, people. Like, don't
yeah.
just go by, like, we didn't do a timeline and I didn't do a presentation for you on the case because I wanted you all to look at all of that first. We will still be following this with
Yeah.
Kelly,
You
you
know,
know.
and if you want, you can get people kind of up to speed. People
Hmm.
can start reading through it, and then you could even do we could or even do one together. You don't have to do one with me.
Hmm.
Watching the anti-slap hearings, I find the anti-slap hearings
Do they,
fascinating.
what time do they usually happen? Like, that's Nevada is how far?
It's
Um,
It's 2 hours behind us, but
but
our Nevada
tomorrow we can't go
that
because
one's
that
in
one is
LA.
closed. That's
Well,
closed
yeah,
hearing. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
closed. But the summary judgment motion, we will eventually be able to see that hearing. So
I
I'm
definitely
very
want to see that.
curious how that
You know,
will go.
we could go live. Why don't we just agree to do that? You can either go live on your channel or mine, and we will do that. I'll do that with you if you'd like. I would love
Yeah,
to see. I love watching the process. That's like my
it's
thing. You get
it's
me so
yeah.
excited. If somebody would sit and watch a hearing with me, which most people think are the most boring thing in the world, and
I
I'm like,
know.
I'm so excited. Like, I'll do that with you. Yes.
Aren't we lame?
We're just listen, we're just nerds. I own my nerddom. I am a nerd. I admit it. Like
We're
that's it. Like
so
I love it.
lame.
No, we're not lame. I think it's pretty cool. Like you
Yeah.
know what? If you can find fascination or something you love in anything, like some people like loud rock music.
I've started replacing my shoe shopping with court document buying. Like it's interesting.
Now I know. I think we're like twins from a different. We're like sisters from another mother. Like
Yeah.
I think here, like no, we are definitely cut from the same cloth for sure
Hmm.
on that one. Yeah, I do. I have a budget, and it's a budget for my so-called hobby out here on YouTube.
Yeah, your entertainment, yeah.
It's like, oh wow, where did that few $100s go? Oh yeah, over there in California, they make me pay for everything.
I know,
Everything.
that's
Oh,
such a
yeah.
county. Ugh.
And I have a Pacer account. It's like actively, it's on roll. It just, it just
Yeah.
constantly.
I enjoy Pacer. Their documents are much more affordable.
They are, and it's reasonable. Anybody can sign
Hmm.
up for an
I
account and
love
then
New
bring it.
York. I love
New York,
Pennsylvania. I love Florida.
New York is great, except for they won't let us into the criminal trials, and I'm really hoping that
No, no, but yeah, you can read a lot.
changes.
LA County kills you with that even party search to get the case number. It's like
Mhm.
$1. Even if
You
there's
can't
nothing, you're
even
like $1.
search. You have to pay just to search,
Mm-hmm.
not even if you find anything. And then a lot of the ones that I go to, like Sarah Boone in Florida is public and
Yeah.
transparent. Okay, so I can get the stuff from there, but there are other counties where all you could get is the base sheet. Like I'm in Minot, North Dakota on Shawnee Crawl, and all I can do is get the docket. And I know documents have been filed, and they'll tell me a little bit about it, but I can't get the documents, and that's frustrating. I have to wait
Yeah.
until somebody goes and gets them, because some YouTuber will or some person interested, and then they'll post them on Scrib,
Scribed. Yeah.
or Law, or the other one, Court Listener, or something like that. Like some other way to publicly put it out there. And then you can get it. And so once I do, but I try not to cover things I can't see in black and white. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
I
have a lot of court documents. I belong to Scribed. I have a lot I could add. I should add a whole bunch.
Mm-hmm. Don't dox myself. Like everybody knows who I am, Mark. There's no way to dox myself. Like I'm on. I don't know how I could dox myself. My whole name, everything's out there. Like I use my real name, so. But yeah, I don't like to put it out unless people can double check what I'm doing. And unfortunately, I've lost all confidence in the media reporting. Like,
it's sad.
To the point where they quote the judges, and I still have to go back and read the document. And I have found them quoting the judges erroneously. They cut them off and they don't put the full statement, and they're taking the whole thing out of context. It's frustrating. We know you're not really there. Yes, Mark, stop. You're making me laugh. Anyway, Kelly, I should let you go. It's been past 2 hours. I love this. We could go on forever, but YouTube.
Yeah.
But you know how it is.
Well, thank you everyone for listening.
And check out everything on Nick Carter. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody who actually is looking at the facts and checking out the information and having conversations. Thanks for hanging with us legal nerdy people up here.
Dorks.
We're just two dorks who just have a lot in common. Yeah, we're just two dorks with a lot in common. And I love it. So I look forward to talking to you again soon. Privately, on the podcast, on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, just hit me up. We'll do it.
All right.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Always.
All right.
Bye-bye, everyone.
I'm seriously going to hit the outro out now and get us out of here. Oh, by the way, everybody, kudos to Wrecker for updating the music that I was getting hit on all the time, because there was a third party who said it sounded like music that they owned, but it wasn't. And I got everything released, but it's a real pain in the neck. Like every episode I'd have to file a challenge back and wait 30 days to have it released. So Wrecker, very, very Drager Wrecker, MC Wrecker, very courteously wrote an actual piece for it, and that's what played today. And so give him some kudos.
Woohoo! Yes. Love that.
Yeah, he's a great guy and very talented musician, as you'll hear. All right, thank you, Kelly. Now I'm really off. They're all saying, "Yeah, Claire, 20-minute sign off. We get it." All right, yeah, okay. Kelly knows I talk too much. She knows it.
We're chatty. Yeah. Well, night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.